So we had a race in the Xfinity Series, my second race this year, ran Bristol, and had a lot of fun at Bristol. Didn't get the result we wanted. Had a top 5 car, maybe a winning car even, and ended up having a bad result. But go to Homestead. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I like that racetrack. I kind of get to pick and choose for the most part where I want to run. And so I was looking forward to it. We tested in the simulator. I wasn't sure about the sim and what I was feeling in the sim, so I wasn't sure if we were going to be great or whatever. I didn't feel quite as prepared as I did at Bristol. At Bristol, the sim is spot on. When I got in the car for practice, it's like, oh man, I'm all, the sim and what I'm feeling in this car and how it's driving, what I'm seeing, all really matches up well. But at Homestead, it didn't. The sim drove funky, really, really loose off throttle, then gas it up and push and plow. And when you run the wall in the sim, right, you're trying to go up there and learn how to run the wall and get used to doing that. If you bump the wall, there's no sound. There's no scraping noise. There's nothing that lets you know that the car is now hitting the wall in the sim, right? So with all that, it's like, all right, what the hell? What's this? It's a freaking millions of dollars spent on this sim, and it doesn't even make a noise when you hit the wall. Yeah,
feels important.
It seems like a $5 part, right?
Feels like a detail that they would not want to miss.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, these sims are insane.
Yeah.
Like they're in giant rooms, and there's wires and cables everywhere, and it's up on this giant $1 million platform, and it's a full car almost, right? Roof opens up, and you climb in. The whole interior is just like the one in your race car. And when you hit the wall, it don't make a sound. Okay. So anyways, I wasn't sure about, what I was learning in the sim. I will say, after the race, after having run the race, the way the car drove on the final stage is exactly the way it drove in the sim.
All right, so there's that.
Yes. So I ran the sim. This is a good lesson for not only me, but a lot of other guys, or especially younger guys that use the sim a lot. I think a lot of the young guys that go in the sim, they go in there and they're like, hey man, this is a tool. I'm gonna take advantage of this opportunity to run and use this tool. But then some guys, after running it throughout the year, start to get disenchanted with it quite a bit, and they go, yeah, take it with a grain of salt. What I learned, I think I can use it, but I'm not gonna really guarantee it's gonna work at the track, and a lot of things maybe I won't or throw away, that I'm not even gonna try at the track. But I'll be honest, I was running it at the fact that it didn't make a noise when you hit the wall really disenchanted me.
Changed everything.
I was like, oh man, all right, well, it's wrecking loose in, tight on gas. I don't think the car is really going to drive this way. A lot of things seem exaggerated. But then when I got in there in the race and I'm sitting there running along with about 50 laps to go, I'm like, you know what? That sim was pretty close. So I'll say that. But anyways, we get to the racetrack, and I'm just going to, this is coming, Mike, and everybody around me sees it at the track. I'm nervous as
Yeah.
I'm nervous as hell. I can't fix that.
Right, okay.
Taylor Moyer, crew chief for the 8 car, he comes up to me before practice, and he's like, dude, you got this. Like, out of nowhere, just starts shouting at me. And I'm like, it must be written all over my face.
Of course it is.
Right?
Yes.
I see pictures of me before I get in the car for practice. I don't see massive worry and concern on my face. What are you seeing?
Unlike the sim, you do make sounds.
Whatever.
And that's the part. That's the tell. Yeah. When you're talking about, I'm nervous as
yeah.
That you don't take with a grain of salt. You're really nervous.
I know, but I'm standing there getting ready to get in the car. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just standing there, right? And I got this sort of, resting look.
Resting nervous face?
Nah, I guess.
That might be what it is.
Well, I see pictures of me that were taken that day before I get in the car, and I don't see it. I don't see nervousness. I don't see anxiety. But Taylor walks up, and he's like, you got this, man. I'm like, wait, what? You could tell? And but anyways, man, I was nervous as hell.
Yeah.
Getting ready to get in this car, 20 minutes of practice. We're going to practice 15 minutes, stop early because we have to go out first in qualifying, which is 10 minutes after practice.
Didn't that happen at Bristol too?
Yes.
God, what is the deal?
I hate it.
I know.
So we get in there. I get in the car, and I go out there to practice. Okay, right away, practice is going okay. No major wicked problems with the car. The car's not doing something crazy. I was looser than I wanted to be. They tell me, they're like, "Hey man, you're 9th on the board." I'm like, "That's great. Wow." Right out onto the racetrack, you're going to run your fastest lap on lap 1, and then you're slowing down. Everybody is. So if you don't nail that first lap, if it's a slow lap, you're not going to be able to improve it. And so I was like, man, I got a top 10 lap out of the gate. Awesome. We're good. We're going to be fine. But then as we ran 10 minutes, 15 minutes into practice, I'm trying to run the wall, and it's loose as hell up there. And they're like, "You're going to be fine. It's going to get better over the long run. It's going to come in. It's going to flip a switch. You're going to be hauling ass." And I'm like, "I don't think so. I think we need to be a little bit tighter. Just think we need to touch tighter balance." So we talked about that. Well, I come down pit road, I stop 5 minutes early, right? And then we're going to have a 10-minute break. So as soon as I'm coming down pit road to pull into my stall, there's 15 minutes before I've got to go qualify. So I get down there and I get out of the car, and right away I realized, man, that I was like tired. I was exhausted, and I was like, "Damn, dude, was I holding my breath? What the hell? I'm like 15 minutes of practice and I'm wore out. I'm like I'm not like breathing hard or anything. It's not like I ran a 40-yard dash, but I felt a bit overheated." It was I was a little taken aback by that because, it was just 15 minutes of running around Homestead. Bristol was fine. All of Bristol was fine. None of Bristol was hard physically. None of the race, nothing. And so I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I better freaking relax. When I get in that car for the race, I better not get too amped up and too wide open, too crazy. I better pace myself physically, right, inside the car, driving it, You'll grip the wheel really hard for no reason. Every time we go to Atlanta and practice, you'd pull off the track after the first run, and your hands were killing you because you're gripping the wheel so hard.
Right.
You didn't know you were.
Right.
And because, dude, it's white knuckle.
Yeah.
That's what white knuckle means.
Yeah.
So I was doing a little bit of that probably. I feel like I'm like Latart loves to say, drinking through a fire hose. Like, so much is coming at me, and I'm trying to process so much while I'm driving the car, and just really a lot of anxiety and nerves, and it was just a bunch. But anyways, so we stop. I get out. We're talking about the car. I'm trying to tell my crew about the balance and this and that and other. And they're like, "Okay, got it, cool. All right, we're going to get it ready for qualifying." They're like, they're doing whatever they do, cooling it down, stuff like that, changing the tires. And then, man, I've been standing there like 5 minutes, and they're like, "You got to get back in. You got to go qualify. We got to start rolling it up here." I'm like, "Okay." So we're pushing the car out of our stall, and we go about 15 feet down pit road, and we're now at the end. The first car. And I look back down pit road, and here comes the rest of the field pushing their cars up to get in line for qualifying. Their drivers are in, buckled up, helmet on. I'm like, holy shit, I got to get in. The guy, the official standing there, they're not saying a word to me.
Wow, it almost feels like first day of school where
I know it.
Nobody's telling you anything,
Nothing.
And you're supposed to figure this out. Yeah, I've got anxiety right now just knowing what that must be like. That they're all buckled in, strapped in. That's not a quick process either.
Yeah. I'm like, "Hey, NASCAR official, how much time we got here?" He's like, 4 or 5 minutes. We got 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I was like, "Okay, I better start getting in." So I start buckling up. I climb. I put my helmet on. I climb in. I'm starting to get. I ain't been trying to get in this car 2 minutes, and they're like, 1 minute.
Holy crap! No way,
I'm buckling my belt and trying to put my Hans on. I'm trying to put my gloves on, and the officials saying, "Crank it up. Time to go. God. Time to go, buddy. Crank it up." I'm like, "This is unsafe." this is totally unsafe. This don't feel, this nothing about this feels good.
No.
And so I'm like, I ain't f***ing going out there until my stuff is ready. I ain't going out there until I feel like I've got my stuff on, my belts, my gloves right, everything right. I ain't driving off pit road unless I got my wheel indexed. All that stuff's good. I'm not. This can't be done halfway, right? I got to have it all right to try to make this race. I don't get to provisional, and I ain't locked in on points. So they're like, come on. So I pull off pit road probably about a minute and a half after I was supposed to.
Okay.
No penalty.
All right.
So I pull off pit road up onto the racetrack and headed down the back straightaway. And we had worked in the sim, watched tape last year from qualifying, and we made up our mind where we were going to run. We don't get to watch the rest of the field run to see, what we think is best and then decide. We've got to just make a choice, and we're going to go out there and run that line. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, Mike. You can run the bottom on both ends. You can run the bottom 1 and 2, top of 3 and 4. That's traditionally what a lot of guys are going to do. So I decided, we're going to run the bottom of 1 and 2. Basically, I'm going to haul ass off pit road, get up through the gears as fast as I can, and I'm going to drive the car as hard as I can through 3 and 4 to sort of understand the balance.
Right, because you
learn what you can.
You made a little bit of a change there, and you're
But
hopefully a little tighter.
But I got to exit fast, so I can't screw up in 3 and 4. I can't go in there and goof it up and go, okay, well, I learned that. Now let's get going.
Right.
I've got to accelerate off of the turn 4 to the green flag so that I have a good start to my lap. So I'm coming down the front straightaway. I don't think I did a really awesome job at that, but I'm coming down the front straightaway, and when I get the green flag, I'm probably not going as well as the top 10 guys were. And now I'm going to drive it into turn 1. I don't know where I'm going to lift. I'm just going to go until it feels right, okay? And I'm going to point it down into the bottom and try to aim for the bottom of the racetrack. And it may stay there, but it may slide. I don't know. And I'm just going to drive it down in there and deep as I probably can, lift, and see if it'll stay on the bottom. And if it doesn't, I'm just going to slide all the way up to the wall through the rest of the corner.
Okay.
Right? Whatever happens. So I kind of drove it in there fine, looking at the SMT data. My entry wasn't bad at all. I didn't overdo it. I didn't really underdo it. But I was way late back to the gas.
Okay.
All right? And that's just not having any time in the car, not trusting the rear of the car, or knowing exactly.
Not knowing. Yeah.
So I'm late to the gas. We get off the corner, go down the back straightaway. I feel pretty good about 1 and 2. I'm like, all right, man, that wasn't too bad. We just need to do a decent job down here in 3 and 4. We haul off into 3 and 4, and thought I got through the middle of the corner pretty good. But again, I get to the gas late, judging by the SMT data. And I finish the corner, and we come down, and I run an 89 or something like that. Well, that would have been top 10 last year. So I'm like, oh, man, heck yeah. Not a bad lap at all. Top 10 maybe.
The fact that you even knew what times were top 10 times last year is amazing to me, because typically
that's
you
unusual.
Yeah, you make a point to say, I don't know what times do.
I'm like, okay, y'all, hey. They're my spotter Joey, he's like, tells me the lap time. I'm like, well, that seems pretty good, I think. Silence.
Oh no.
I'm like, hey, that was like top 10 lap last time. What y'all think? Y'all think that's gonna be good enough? That's gonna be pretty good. Nothing. So I'm cruising around, and I mean, this is really the moment where I really want to know some information. Like, I'm on pins and needles. I've been waiting all week to learn how good or how well I was going to qualify into this field. And so I'm rolling around, and I'm like, Joey, do you have any? He's like, they're trying to get on the radio. They're trying to get on. I don't know what Jason and the crew were doing, but they're talking amongst themselves, right? And they're not talking to me. And he's like, they're trying to come to you. They're trying to get to you. I'm like, well, Joey, do you know anything? Do you know if that'll be any good? Of course they don't. I mean, I'm the first car out. So, but boy, I wanted some information. So I come down pit road. I get out, and I'm like, all right. Watched a few cars qualify. Newman ran really good in that 66. It's an old Penske car with a Yates motor. They had a really good package put together for him. Unfortunately, he burnt the rear gear up, and I was excited to see how Newman was going to do. I'd like to see Newman in some more Xfinity races, quite honestly. But anyways, Weatherman goes out, and he's always going to overachieve in qualifying and do a great job. He runs like a 58, and I was like, all right, damn, okay, maybe we're not going to run top 10. I mean, nothing against Weatherman, but he ran a 58. Then the 25 goes out and runs a flat. I'm like, holy shit, So then I said, okay, we're going to be about 23rd. That's where we ended up. So I was disappointed. Now, I was thrilled that I didn't, that I made the race. I didn't screw up real royally bad. But I was a little disappointed with 23rd. I had my family there, Amy and the girls, at the bus, and enjoyed being around them. There's this cool little pond inside the racetrack, and they put this little beach feature over there, brought in a bunch of sand, so the girls got to hang around and do that. They really loved it. So that was kind of nice because there's really not much else going on around Homestead for the family to go do or leave the track. There's not I don't
Homestead,
know. Yeah, Homestead's
it's not Miami.
Yeah. And so, anyways, we're kind of stuck at the track, and with that little beach thing they got going on, that was kind of nice. So kudos to Homestead for having that.
I'm still hung up on something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't get past it. I'm trying to listen to you, and I realize
No.
I feel like going back to trying to get into the car for qualifying. The NASCAR official doesn't owe you anything or is not obligated to tell you, but the team could have done a lot more. Is that something that we can talk about in the Monday morning team meeting?
Nope. The team meeting happened. That did not get discussed. I had the team meeting before I came in here. They're also drinking through a fire hose, right?
Okay.
We had to quit early in practice to allow them the time to get the car ready, cooled off, new tires on it, everything changed that needs to happen. They got to tighten it up, put wedge in, drop track bar, all those things. So they're not, they're busy. They're not coddling and holding my hand.